Okay, welcome back. The next topic that Wordsworth discusses is what is the aim of his poetry? What does he wish to attain by writing? And he says the principal aim of his poetry is to select incidents and quote incidents and situations from common life. So that is the primary purpose or the primary aim. Select incidents and situations from common life. Common life means the life of common people. The life of when the common people or the villagers, the rural people live their lives day by day, they experience a lot of things during for example, 1 day's life, 24 hours life. A rural person may go through several experiences. Is it possible to write poetry about all those experiences? No, it's not possible, because that will be a lot. So, the poet has to select. The poet cannot write about everything that is happening in a person's life. So, the poet has to select. So, that is what he means by incidents and situations from common life. That is, select incidents and situations from common life. And so first of all, he selects incidents and situations from common man's life or the lives of common people. So that is the first stage. Then to describe them in a selection of language, quote, in a selection of language really used by men. So after selecting the incidents from the lives of common people, the next thing is he has to describe them in what language, not in the scholarly language or ornate language of the neoclassical period, but in a selection of language really used by men. That is, language really used by men and not the ornate language, the artificial language, the pretentious language. So, what language does a man on the street or man in a village speak? That language. Language really used by men. But all that language, all the words that are spoken by a villager, no. Wordsworth says a selection of a language. He does not approve of all the words used by villagers. Sometimes villagers may use very bad words. They may speak in very bad language. Some of their colloquial usages may be very bad. May not appeal to our taste. So Wordsworth here appears to be a Puritan or someone who does not approve of, even though he likes villagers and their language, he does not approve of all the types of language that are used by villagers. He says, I would select their language. Select language means select words. I will not use all the words that are spoken by common people. So, selection of language really used by men. So, that is the second stage. Now, what is the third stage? Then, throw over them, quote, throw over them a certain coloring of imagination. So first of all, he will select certain experiences from the lives of common people, but he will not present those experiences in a direct manner in his poetry. So he will process those experiences. How will he process those experiences? He will throw over them a certain coloring of imagination. He will use the poet's brush, dip his brush in certain colors, and then he will paint using that brush over those experiences or incidents that he has already selected. Now, if he presented all those experiences in a direct manner, then it may not attract the readers. It may bore the readers. So, rather than presenting those experiences in a very direct manner, what he proposes to do is, he proposes to transform them into a very attractive, forms using his poetic imagination. So this is the third stage in writing poetry. And then he explains to make ordinary things appear unusual and make them interesting by discovering the primary laws of nature within them. So what is the purpose here? Why does he paint the experiences of the ordinary people with the brush of his imagination? Because he says he wants to make ordinary things appear unusual. He wants to transform ordinary things into extraordinary things or unusual things. Take for example a poem by William Wordsworth, Lucy Gray. Lucy Gray tells the story of an innocent girl who used to roam about the village, and then one fine evening there was a storm and thunder and lightning, and then Lucy disappears. Nobody knows where Lucy went, and people of the village start to search for Lucy, and they follow her footsteps, but the footsteps lead to the edge of the bridge. There's a bridge and they can see the footsteps only up to the edge of the bridge. Beyond that, the footsteps disappeared. The footsteps are missing. So Lucy's disappearance ends in a mystery. What happened to Lucy? Was she drowned in that river underneath that bridge? Or did somebody abduct her? No answers. So it becomes a very mysterious thing in the poem. So this is what Wordsworth means by transforming ordinary things into extraordinary things or unusual things and make them interesting. Now, why does he do this? To make them interesting to the readers by discovering the primary laws of nature within them. Wordsworth is known as a nature poet. He believed in the power of nature to teach people. Nature as a guide, as a guru, as a teacher. Now, he also believed that nature is not inanimate. Nature has certain rules, has certain laws, primary laws. And these laws are at work in our life. But we may not understand it. We may not realize it. But these laws are at work in the lives of human beings. So by reading poems, we can come to know what these laws are, the primary laws of nature. So this is the loftiest aim of Wordsworth's poetry. So he tells us about his theory of poetry, his method of writing poetry in very clear terms, step by step. Now he gives a reply that may be asked by his readers. For example, first of all, why does he choose the humble and rustic life, what he meant by common life. Why doesn't he choose the lives of city people, the urban people? He was very biased towards the lives of city people. Why he is not writing poetry about the lives of village people? What is wrong with the lives of city people? And what is good in the lives of the village people? So to this question he answers. He says emotions are less restrained, less complicated, more expressed, easily comprehended, more stable, and are connected with nature as far as the rural people are concerned. So let us take each one. First of all, he says the emotions of the rural people are less restrained. That means the rural people are less disciplined. They will express their emotions in a very straightforward manner, without restraining them, without trying to control them. Whereas, in contrast, the city people never express their emotions as they experience it. They may try to camouflage their experiences, emotions. They may try to hide their emotions. For example, when a city person meets another person, the city person, even if he thinks that the other person is a fool, he will not say so. He will try to hide his emotions and say something good about that person. So thereby the city people are highly pretentious people. So their emotions are less restrained. They are not very straightforward, direct in expressing their emotions. Then he says less complicated. The emotions of the village people are less complicated. Why? Because their life is not complicated. You contrast this with the emotions of the city people. The city people's lives are highly complicated. So because of that complication, they cannot experience simple emotions. Their emotions are highly complicated. The third thing is more expressed. The village people express their emotions very clearly. Their whole body expresses the emotions. Whereas the city people are concerned, if their face is expressing some emotion, the other parts of their body may not join. The other parts of their body may express something else. What we nowadays talk about the body language. So you cannot understand what a person means simply by looking at his face or his words. You have also to observe his body language. Sometimes he may be expressing something that is quite contrary to his body language. Now the next thing is easily comprehended. We can easily understand the rural people, the village people, but it's very difficult to understand a city person. More stable. As far as the rural people are concerned, their experiences, their emotions are very stable. That means psychologically they have a very stable mind. Whereas the city people psychologically are not very stable. They suffer from neurosis, psychosis, all sorts of mental hallucinations and illusions haunt them. They frequently consult the psychiatrists and psychologists. Whereas the rural people, the villagers, have no such requirement. Then the last thing is they are connected with nature. The word Wordsworth uses in communion with nature. They are always in connection with nature. And this connection with nature gives them their life a kind of a wholesomeness. Their life becomes very healthy because of this constant connection or communion with nature. So these are the reasons that Wordsworth gives for choosing the humble and rustic life, the rural life of the people as the subject matter of his poetry. Okay, so that is the subject matter of his poetry. What about the language? Why did he decide to use the language of rural people in his poetry and not that of the city people, the urban people? Here is his justification. He says, by using that language, that is language really used by men, not any artificial or ornate language. But remember, selection of language, that language must be purified at first. It must be filtered. You cannot use all the words that the village people are using. They may be using abusive words. They may be using very unpalatable slangs. You cannot use all those words. You have to purify their language and then use that in your poetry. So purified of defects to avoid disgust. So they are continuously in communion with nature. So Wordsworth is repeating the last point, that is the rural people are in constant contact, constant connection, continuously in communion with nature, from which language is derived. So Wordsworth believes that language derived from nature. So as the rural people are in close contact with nature, so their language must be very pure language. Now when we come to postmodernism and Derrida, we will find that this concept of language originating from nature, or what we call nature and culture. So here nature is represented by the villages, culture is represented by the city people. So Derrida challenges all such binary oppositions. Okay, so let us concentrate on Wordsworth. So Wordsworth believes that since the villages are in constant communion with nature, and since language originated in nature, their language is in a very pure original state, whereas the language of the city people are not in a very pure original. Their language, the language of the city people, is very contaminated. They are free from the vanity of urban people. So Wordsworth is highly critical of the urban people, the city people. He thinks that they are full of vanity, affectation, pretensions. They pretend what they are not. So the villagers are free from this evil, social evil. They convey their feelings in a straightforward manner. Their language arising out of repeated experience and regular feeling is a more permanent and more philosophical language. So as already said, their life is very stable, their mind is very stable. So their language originates from that stability, that stable mind. So Wordsworth thinks that because it originates from a stable mind, their language will be very stable and permanent and philosophical. Than the language used by poets, that is arbitrary and furnish food for fickle taste and fickle appetites. So he does not approve of a language that furnishes food to fickle taste and fickle appetite. He is for constant, permanent experience, permanent emotions. So Wordsworth's decision to use common life and language in his poetry implies that upper class life and lofty language are insufficient for poetic expression. Wordsworth was not a person who approved of the elite class, the upper class. He was a poet of the common people. So he believed that the upper class life and the life did not provide any opportunity to write poetry. The lives of the upper class people are devoid of any worthwhile experience, any stable experience. So throughout the preface, Wordsworth seems to equate cosmopolitanism with corruption. He seems to believe that city people are highly corrupted, the cosmopolitan life is highly corrupted, whereas the village people are leading a very stable, innocent, wholesome, healthy life. Okay, so we'll come to the next topic in the next